Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Gindy's Videos. This will probably also be posted on Random Thoughts and Observations as well. But today I'm going to tell you a cute little story that has another cute little story with it. First of all, you ever take your kids into a convenience store and they have that rack of toys inside the store, and of course the kids is bound and determined to buy something? Well, as we were younger with my kids, we'd go into the convenience store, and of course they couldn't buy stuff because we had no money. You know, we were living on the edge of abject poverty, more or less. But every once in a while, on their birthdays rather, my mother would send my kids some money to spend on themselves for their birthday. Well, my youngest son, Davy Jr., we call him Davy, decided one of these trips with his birthday money, he was going to buy a set of handcuffs. And sometimes they say on like real police handcuffs or real metal handcuffs or whatever. But it's a pair of handcuffs very similar to this that he purchased. Well, one of the things about the particular set of handcuffs he bought, they really were kind of like metal clad. But if you push the handcuff mechanism a bit too far, you couldn't pull it loose, but you could flip it on through. Well, the problem with this is that one day Davy had his brother Jared put the handcuffs on his wrist, and it went just a little too far to be able to be released by the key. And so there he was. You couldn't push it any further. You couldn't open it up at all, and it was stuck on him. The key wouldn't work. You could twist and twist it, and it just wouldn't open the mechanism. Well, my oldest son Jared told Davy, "Dad's going to have to cut that off." And Davy's like, my arm? And Jared said, well, probably your hand. And of course Davy started crying. He said, no, Dad'll take care of it. It'll be all right. So Jared brings Davy crying into the room where I am, and I see the predicament that Davy's in. He's handcuffed, but only one hand is cuffed where he can't get out. So we take the handcuff off the other hand right away. And I look at it, and I look at it, and I try to get it loose with the key, and it won't come loose with the key, and I try to get it loose with the key, and it just won't come loose with the key, and I try pulling it like this, and it won't come loose. So finally I say to Jared, go get my hacksaw. Well, now Davy just freaked, because he's sure that what Jared told him, that I'm going to have to cut his hand off, is the truth. Because now Daddy has said, go get the hacksaw. And I told And I told Davy, no, I'm not going to have to cut your hand off. I'm just going to cut the handcuffs off. What I did was I took the hacksaw and I turned the blade around backwards. First of all, I took the blade out of the hacksaw, slid it through the little bit of space that's between his wrist and the edge of the handcuff. And then with it backwards in the saw frame, I sawed up so that I wasn't cutting his skin, I was cutting away from him. Anyway, after what seemed like forever, we were able to cut through it and get the handcuff off. And of course, these have been banned in our house ever since that time. Now, a few weeks later, Davy was playing around with some CDs. This is actually a DVD, but for those of you that can tell the difference that far away. But took some CDs and he stuck his finger through the hole and was wearing it like a ring. And he thought, well, that's just cool, and so he puts more and more and more. So finally he has a stack about yay thick on his finger, that's from the base of his finger up to the knuckle. The problem is, once he did that, they jammed themselves in there. You couldn't get it off. His fingers started swelling, couldn't get it off. So Davy again goes to his big brother, because that's where younger brothers go when they need help, is first to your big brother, which is, you know, the normal thing to do, because you don't want to tell Daddy and you don't want to tell Mommy, because you know, you might get yelled at or they might freak. Well, he goes to Jared, and Jared's like, oh no, we're going to have to go get Dad. He's going to have to cut your finger off. And David's like, he didn't have to cut it off for the handcuffs. And Jared told him, well, you know, the hole in the handcuffs gave him a little bit of space to stick a saw blade. There's no space in there for a saw blade. And so, of course, Davy is really crying now, and he comes in there, and Jared carries him in this time. And there Davy is with the stack of CDs on his finger, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Well, had a pair of aviation shears. And aviation shears is these very sharp, scissor-like things that can cut through airplane metal. They're very, very sharp, and they're very, very good, and they're just very good at cutting things. So I decided that maybe the way to go about this was to get the aviation shears, and we cut a wedge out of one side and a wedge out of the other side, and they made the wedges bigger and bigger and bigger to try to finally relieve some pressure on his finger. And we're able to crack the CDs away one at a time that way and get it all the way off. And of course, Davey was very relieved to have the CDs off of his finger. Well, now let me tell you an interesting story about going to buy this prop. Now, Suzanne and I looked all over town at the different convenience stores and couldn't find any of these. But we remembered that our friend Anwar up at Avalon Food Mart sold these. So we went in, and she and I go over and look at the rack of toys, and we find these. And we go up to the front counter, and Anwar, he's about 10 years older than me. He looks at me, and he looks at Suzanne, and he gets a great big old smile on his face, and says, "You don't have the little kids." And he looked at us again and looked back, and he says, "You don't have the little kids." And it helped matters very much when I said, "Oh, we're going to make a video using these." And of course, he had that sheepish little look on his face, and his cheeks were just bright red. He says, "A video." And he kind of laughed. So there's no telling what Anwar thought was going to be going on. Well, that's our story for today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you had similar stories or want to tell us about it, drop us an email to GindysVideos, that's GINDYSVIDEOS @gmail.com. That's GindysVideo@gmail.com, or follow the link at the bottom of the post here. Thank you, and you have a great day.